Okay, Shalom Aleichem, friends. Thank you for joining us. Gidon Shoshan from Ramat Beit Shemesh, welcoming, of course, Moreno Rav Asher Weiss from Yerushalayim, and many guests who are here from Eretz Yisrael and from really all around the world. We have about 190 participants today, as we invited some people from outside of our regular Olami Dalet Amos, and of course, so many people are eager to hear the words of the Rav and benefit from his guidance and his wisdom. We at Olami are very privileged that Rav Asher Shlita is in regular contact with us, and we have the opportunity to be in regular contact with him. And we even spoke earlier today about some matters of policy and direction for Olami. And it's an ongoing bracha for our organization, an ongoing bracha for the Klal and for so many other organizations. And of course, the presence of so many people from around the world, nearly 200 right now, is a testament to the great value, the great value that everyone places on the direction and the inspiration and guidance that we all receive from the Rav Shlita. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to the Rav with great thanks. If anybody has any questions regarding the topic that we're discussing, you can feel free to direct message me. And if there's time afterward, I'll address some of the questions to the Rav. But we're not going to open the microphones for this session, so we ask that everybody keep it muted. Thank you so much.
So I had many opportunities in the past to speak to the Rabbonim and the leaders in Olami. But tonight, we are meeting in a profoundly sad and tragic time. And from early in the morning to very late at night, I'm just trying to serve Klal Yisrael, individuals, communities, Rabbonim, everybody just grappling and trying to cope, to understand, and we're all looking for Chizzuk. I think it is since the Holocaust that our people, Klal Yisrael, hasn't experienced such a horrific experience. Approximately 1,000 Jews, 1,000, an astonishing number, were just murdered in cold blood. Not soldiers killed in combat. Israel has known many wars, but just 1,000 people, Anoshim V'taf, entire families, husband, wife, children, grandfathers, grandmothers, just murdered. And your heart is just shattered and broken to pieces. We have known nothing like this since the pogroms in Eastern Europe 100 years ago, and since the Shoah. Barbarians, goy az ponim, shelo yisa ponim lezokein v'nar lo yachon, as the pasuk says. Animals, barbarians, killing children, babies, women, the elderly. It is just beyond what your heart could bear. So what is our obligation? What's our challenge? What is the Chizzuk? What is demanded from us? Number one, to feel the pain. To feel the pain. The awareness and realization that we are one people. And that is what is unique about Klal Yisrael. We fight amongst ourselves more than any other people. We are a house divided, to my dismay, especially recently in Eretz. But when tragedy strikes, and in times of war, Kol Yisrael Arevim, they say, Miktsei ha'olam ba'ad katsei. Jews in America, in Australia, from Johannesburg to Copenhagen, from Buenos Aires to Tashkent, wherever Jews are, we stand together and we feel the pain. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Shuvah Perek Gimel, Halacha Yud Aleph, HaPerish medarkei hatzibur ein lo chelek la'olam haba. When one detaches himself from the people, from the nation, from Klal Yisrael, and the Rambam defines, when is a person considered a Perish Medarkei Hatzibur, she'enoi nechnas litzarosam ve'enoi misanem b'tanisam. If you don't feel the pain, and you don't share the suffering, that is a Perish Medarkei Hatzibur. So Jews, wherever they are in the world over, and in our country, in times of war, when tragedy strikes, we feel each other. And we stand together. So with all the horrific news trickling in from one moment to another, there are so many inspiring stories. Heroic stories. Senior officers in the Israeli army that served 20 years ago, and they are civilians, Zaydis, grandchildren, put on their uniforms, personal firearms, and they went down south to fight and to try to save Eden. I apologize for becoming sentimental, but I've been crying all day. Actually, for the past 2 days. So when people knock on my door, soldiers leaving their families, leaving their homes. Some hours ago, young man knocked on my door. His wife is 6 months pregnant. He belongs to an elite combat unit. Just asking for bracha. Hoping that he will live to see his baby to be born. So I gave him a bracha from the depth of my heart. So people come, young people married and they're worrying for their wives. If chas v'sholom, they will be taken into captivity. Now we have approximately 150 people in the hands of Hamas in Gaza. And we just are too scared to imagine how they're being treated, what's happening to them. This is so horrific. So when young people come to ask me, could I write a get out tonight, which is totally unacceptable in Allah? Could I make a shliach to write a get? So I'm going to be taken into captivity and my whereabouts will be unknown. And this is something I cannot recommend or not even agree to because of many halachic problems and challenges. And the authorities are also adamantly against this idea because it'll devastate the morale of young families. So I just give them brachas. And I say, my bracha, you should come safely home. And then I look up at the heavens. And I say, Rabboni Shalom, I gave your children a bracha. They should come home. I did it for you. So please bring them safely home. Leman kvod shimcho hagodel. Shelo yischar Hashem shamayim. So, number one, just feel the pain, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu feels our pain. So we are one people, one nation. Kulanu b'nei Yisrael chamnachnu. And this brings me to number two, which is Achdus. There's an amazing Medrash Rabbah, Bamidbar, Rab Olam Etes. And Chazal compare two different eras and generations. Ma bein doirei shel David le doirei shel Achav. In the times of David the Melech, Chazal say in Medrash, there were tinakis sheloi tam utam chet. And there were young people, young scholars, that knew how to be Dorish. Mem tes ponim letayar, mem tes ponim letame. They were great Lamdani. And they went out to war and they were vanquished. Vayotzim lamachama v'noiflim. Mepnei shedil turim hayu beinehem. Dorish alachav were oivde avodah zorah. And they went out to wage war and they were victorious. Oivdei avodah zorah lo hayu beinehem dilturim. What we learn from this medrash is in times of war, we need to stand united, and only then will HaKadosh Baruch Hu be with us. So in the days of David the Melech, they learned Torah. They were Kedoshim. And they were vanquished because there was machlekes and strife amongst them. There is shalach were idol worshippers over there by the Zohar, by United. And why? They were united. So this is also an amazing Jewish phenomenon. As you are all aware, for the past months, Israeli society is being unraveling, being torn by its seams, right and left, these mass demonstrations. Today, there's no right, no left. Everybody's fighting together. From secular, we have one enemy. And halavai, some of the actors should stay with us when this terrible war will be over. But that is our challenge. If we understand we are one, from, non-from, and amongst the from community, we should throw all machlekes aside. Benafshenu, Adav. We are all a Kodesh Baruch Hu's kinderach. We all share the same history and the same destiny, same past, and the same future. We are one. And we need to stand united. And it's then that we have Siyata D'Shmai in a Kodesh Baruch Hu will be with us. This is a time in which everyone, and especially those that have children in the army. I spoke with a neighbor some time ago. She has 4 children, and they're all right now at the front. 3 sons and 1 son-in-law. So do you know how parents feel? Could they sleep by night? So most of us don't have kids in the army. Neither do I. My kids are all in Koil and my grandchildren. But I think it is our responsibility to feel what they feel. And that'll bring us to do our utmost in what rests upon us. So it is a time in which we all need Chizzuk in Emunah and Betochen. So the Pasuk says, Lahagid ba'boker chazdech ve'emunascha b'leilos. So Sifra Hasidus explained, in the life of every individual, and definitely in the life of a nation, there are days and there are nights. There are times in which the sun shines with all its glory. Days which are days of rachamim. Days which we sit ishtachas gapne ishtachas te'inasai, enjoy our families, our children, our yeshivas. And that is lahagid b'boiker chazdech, days in which we sing the praise of the Kadosh Baruch. And in the life of individuals and in the life of Klal Yisrael, there are long, long, dark nights. V'ka'asher ha'choshech yechasa Eretz, anan v'arafel, that is the test of your emunah. Lahagid b'boiker chazdecha ve'emunascha b'leilos. The Ramban, the great Ramban, one of the greatest of our Rishonim, writes, and this is such a powerful line, Yesh davar mach'iv halevavot umad'iv hamachshavot, quoting the Ramban, which caused many to lose their emunah. Tzadik v'ra'aloi, Rosh Hashanah. When tragedy strikes in such a unbelievable way, such magnitude, when 1,000 families are torn asunder in one day, and life will never be the same for these people, and you see the manifestation of Midas Adin, it's a big nisayon. Mach'iv halavavos, umad'iv hamachshavos. And it is in days like these that we need to be machazik in emunah v'betochen, and not only believe but try to feel that the Kadosh Baruch Hu cries along with us. He feels all our pain.
I know, fucking.
And he always, and as the Mishnah says in Sanhedrin Daf Memvav, Ishoshi Yisor B'tzar, Shchina Mayim Eretz, Kalani Mereshi, Kalani Mizlei. When we pain, Kodesh Baruch Hu pains. So one might ask, so why doesn't he stop it? We don't know. This is something beyond what a human being could understand. The Gemara in Brochus Daf Zayin is mefarish the pasuk after Chet HaWegel, after the tragedy and the Megefa. Moshe pleased with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hoydiyeni no es d'rochecha. Did the Kodesh Baruch Hu answer Moshe Rabbeinu's prayer? And what did he want to understand when he says Hoydiyeni no es d'rochecha? The Gemara says, Bikesh Moshe leida tzarek v'ra'alei rosh v'toiva. Why do terrible things happen to good people? And why is it the destiny of Klal Yisrael, Kodesh Baruch Hu's beloved children, so much suffering throughout the ages? And Moshe Rabbeinu was troubled. And it's a machlokas Reb Meir v'Reb Yossi whether Kodesh Baruch Hu answered Moshe's prayers. Reb Yossi says yes, and Reb Meir says no. So not even Moshe Rabbeinu could understand Gzeras Shamayim. But at exactly in such times, that is the test of Emunascha. I'm a child of survivors. My father and mother were both in Auschwitz, and they both lost most of their families. And one day, the day they arrived, father, mother, grandparents, siblings, brothers and sisters. I'm a Talmud of one of the most greatest and most famous survivors, the Kloisenberger Rebbe, who lost his wife and all his 11 children and was left alone in the world. Ka'ar'ar ba'ara. And I remember once in a personal conversation I had with a Rebbe, it wasn't in public, he said, "Af ein rega b'chnishmahar gevein achrei midosav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu." Never for one moment did I question HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ways. I shuddered when I heard those words many years ago. I would guess about 40 years. And every time I repeat them, I feel the same. So that is the madregas of one of the greatest gedolim of our time. But that's our challenge. When you feel the pain and you talk to the people, it's unbearable. Still, not only believing, but tangibly feeling closeness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, when we cry, HaKadosh Baruch Hu cries at all. So why? We don't know. La'asid lavoi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yegale ofer me'eineinu. And then you will understand. And that is what Sefer Iyov is all about. Sefer Iyov is the ultimate sefer of tragedy and of suffering. What is the message of Sefer Iyov? The sefer begins with a storm. Terrible storm. His house breaks up. His children are killed. And then his friends come to console him. And a lengthy philosophical discussion develops, taking up almost the entire sefer. Many ideas are raised and expounded and discussed. And towards the end of the sefer, another storm starts with a storm and ends with a storm. And then out of the blue, HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to Iyov, and he asks some very fundamental questions. Eifo v'yiso v'yasni Eretz. Where were you when I created the world? Agedno im yodato bino. Alma adane Yahud ba'u. Umiara even binata. Aniglo lacho sharei mavet. Bisharei etzel mavet. So the message of Iyov fundamentally is, you're all wrong. You're all wrong. You're not even in the right track. Don't try to understand, which is beyond human understanding. Our challenge is to accept what one cannot understand. And that is the fundamental challenge of Emunah V'Bitochen in times of crisis. So yes, this is a time in which everyone needs to be mischazik in Emunah V'Bitochen. Not only believe, to feel. Kodesh Baruch Hu was with us in times of tragedy. So let me quote my great Rebbe, the Kloiser Mager Rebbe. I heard from him a few times, an idea. So when he says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, you cover your eyes with your hand. And why is that? Lefi pshutam shel devarim shulchan aruch. You close your eyes because you don't want to be distracted, because you need kavanah in the first pasuk of creation. But if that is the only reason, it would be enough just to close your eyes and not to look right or left. The symbolic act of covering your eyes with your hands means there is more to it. So the great Kloiser Mager Rebbe said, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu. Shem Havai always is Midas HaRachamim, while Elokeinu is Midas HaDin. And in our lives, as I said before, there are mornings, there are nights. Hashem Elokeinu, sometimes we are Zeicha to Midas HaRachamim, and in others, Midas HaDin strikes. You cover your eyes and you say, Hashem Echad. We believe it all comes from Racham. We don't see it. Regardless of what we see, we cover our eyes. Even when we can't see the light in the darkness, doesn't matter what we see. We cover our eyes. We believe. When we feel Hashem Echad. Kodesh Baruch Hu always loves us. And he loves us more in times of stress and tragedy and war. So this is an area of Chizzuk. Now I want to be somewhat more practical. Tefillah. I don't think we appreciate enough the koyach of tefillah. So the Gemara in Brachas above says, the Baal Shem Tov says, why are we mezalzel b'tefillah? We all were in this situation, and we know sometimes a person davens and davens from the depth of his heart, and his tefillahs go unanswered. Anybody that had a close family member, and especially a young one, had this feeling, you know. My wife passed away relatively young. She was 60. And I remember how much we davened. My children, my talmidim, and it was not to be, were our tefillahs ignored? No. So the Baal Shem Tov says, every tefillah goes up to the Kisei HaKavod. No tefillah is ever ignored. No tefillah that comes out of the depth of a Yiddish hearts will ever go unanswered. But we may never know how our tefillahs were answered and what a Kodesh Baruch Hu did with our tefillahs. But we need to believe they're all under the Rumah Shalom. Chazal say, Ma Yaseh. What is this person supposed to do if he davens and his tefillahs were not answered? Yachzor v'yitpalel. We all need to daven more and daven better. For Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael. Many of you, I don't know whether most of you are in America, but wherever you are, your life might not be in danger right now. And you should never be in danger. But we all need to daven.
Okay, I understand.
We're going to discuss it to see what the best thing to do.
In my shul, since some custody, after davening, we say 3 Pirkei Tehillim. Chaf, Pei Gimel, Kuf Lamed. Chaf and Kuf Lamed are general Porokim B'Shas Tzorah. Kuf Gimel especially relates to warfare, when Klal Yisrael is at war. And we need to daven. And all those young soldiers that came to say, to get a bracha from me, I say, in your personal knapsack, together with your gun and your gear, you should all have a tehillim or a siddur. You have 5 extra moments. Take out your tehillim. Every pedic, every pasuk can make the difference between life and death. Some months ago, I went to visit a person that was very badly injured in a terror attack in Yerushalayim. He had a tillim in his short pocket on the left side and a piece of shrap. You know what shrap is? Shrapnel. Got stuck in his tillim right across his heart. It penetrated the tillim and it stopped exactly at the pasuk. We need to believe in the koyach of tefillah. Wherever you are, you need to daven for your brothers and your sisters and feel each and every one of Yoshvei Eretz Yisrael, his family. So daven and daven, kavolas tefillah, an extra few prokim of tehillim. And we need to believe, yes, makes a difference. And a special message to all the B'nai Torah amongst us, Shiva boys, Koil guys, all those people that have the unbelievable schus of dedicating all your life to learn Torah, Okisabo, Yomam, Balai. In Megillah Daf Gimel, Chazal tell a story. Yoshua ben Nun, in the midst of the war, Melchemes Mitzvah Kibush Eretz Yisrael, goes out by night. In modern slang, we would say to air out his head. Stress, warfare, bloodshed. And suddenly he sees a general, an officer. And he's puzzled. And he asks the officer, Halanu at imlutzorein. I don't know you. If you would be commander of my army, I would know you. But your uniform is unfamiliar to me, so where do you belong? Are you one of us? Are you an enemy, friend, or foe? And the commander answers, Loiki, Sartzma Hashem Anashi. I'm not a mortal. I have a mistake. I'm not a mortal. I'm not a human being. I'm an angel from above. And I was sent to you. And Yeshua asks the Malach, what is it? And the Malach says, Emesh bitaltem tumis orbeinu abayim, vayom bitaltem en ha-Torah. Yesterday you were mevatel kabbonos, and today you were mevatel Torah. And Yeshua is taken aback and he says, Al ezer mehen bosa. Which of the two is my problem? And the Malach says, Al atu bosa. Itu Torah. And I ask a question, I wasn't there. But if I would be the Yeshua, I would tell the Malach, well, maybe you're a great Malach, but I don't know whether you're a great Lamb. And a cited up Memdalet, the Gemara says, in times of war, you're put up in Talmud Torah, put them in a mitzvah. So what is it? And I guess the Malach answered, Yeshua, you don't get it. Open your eyes. Open your eyes, and what do you see? If I would be sent by a Kodesh Baruch Hu to reprimand you on Bittul Torah, a Kodesh Baruch Hu would dress me up like a Rosh Hashiva with a frock and a Hamburg, or maybe with a streimel and a kaput. Look at me. I have a military uniform, full gear. I was sent to demand El Boino Shel Melchama, not El Boino Shel Torah. A Jewish army doesn't win wars just by might and force. Doesn't work that way. Hashem ish Melchama. Now let me make this clear. The Israeli army needs to be the best army in the world, best trained, most courageous, most advanced weapons and technologies. And I believe it is. But still, our existence is miraculous. We are Am Hashem. We as B'nai Torah must firmly believe, yes, the Koyach HaTorah brings victory to our troops, to our amazing, wonderful, heilige soldiers. They need our Torah. And the merit of Torah, they will be victorious. So the Malach tells Yehoshua, I wasn't sent to you dressed up like a Rosh Hashiva. I was sent to you by a Kodesh Baruch Hu from the heavens, dressed as a warrior. And that is your problem. You need more Torah. How does Yeshua respond? The Gemara says in Megillah Davgim. The pasuk says, "Ve'yoren b'toichu emek, malamed shalom b'umko shel halacha." He doesn't set up a chevras te'ilim. He sets up a koilel erev, the Aronik Choshim Mishpat. And why is that? There's an amazing Tona de Belio Perek Yud. Pasuk in Shoftim. Magen im Yira'eh v'romach v'arboim elef v'Yisrael. Ashrei mi shedivrei Torah mischadshim al yodai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu omer, bishvilcho ani matzel es Yisrael. Why is that? Do you know what the Magen and the Romach are? The Romach is the sword or the spear, and the Magen is the shield, which ancient warriors of yore. The Romach in your right hand and the Magen in your left. So the Romach is an offensive weapon, and the Magen is a defensive weapon. The Magen and the Romach were transformed 1,000,000 times in the past 2,000 years. But every army in modern days knows that a good army must be good in offense and in defense. So the Magen and the Romach became infantry, special forces, artillery, armor, tanks, missiles, anti-missile missiles, and anti-missile missiles, and saber warfare, cyber warfare. And it all boils down to two fundamentals: offense and defense. In Malchamto Shel Torah, we have the Magen and the Romach. It's the Maksha and the Tarzan. And that is how we are Machadash Chedusha Torah, my dear friends, you are Rabbanim, the teachers of Torah. How am I Machadash Chedusha Torah? How is anyone Machadash Chedusha Torah? How does halacha develop? The great Rishonim have 1,000 kashas, and then they come up with 2,000 tirutzim. And that is how halacha is born. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ashrei mi shedivrei Torah mischadshim al yodai, b'shvilo yani matzil es Yisrael. מגן אם יראה ורומח ברבו המלך מישראל. So the kashas and the terusim in Beis Medrash, they are our strength and our power. And they give power to the Magen and the Romach on the battlefield. So I think every Ben Torah needs to feel responsibility. Young boys of your age, yeshiva age, are risking their lives, fighting a brutal, barbaric enemy. Some of them will never come home. You need to feel this responsibility. Needs to bear down on you. So you need to do your most in the Beis Medrash. More asmodim, more chedes d'shmaitza, more iyum, more kashas and more tirutz, more magen and more romach. So every boy out there fighting the enemy, we need one in the Beis Medrash. And that includes each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. You've been in yeshiva 20 years ago. You still know how to learn. Daven more, learn more, and if we don't do so, puts a question mark on your emunah. Do you believe that tefillah has power? Do you believe that Torah has power? If you do, then the other question would be, don't you care? Do you feel the pain? Do you know what it means to have your children out there in war and you can't sleep by night? So if you believe and you care, then you must do your utmost. So we all need to daven better, learn better, daven more, learn more, do chesed. Ish et re'eu yazaru, v'la'achem yomer chazan. And be'ezus Hashem, b'siyata d'shmaya, this war should end quickly and decisively. B'tishkoi Eretz. Eretz Yisrael v'Yoshvei should know many, many years. Shalom and Shalva. Utzu Eitze v'Sufar Dabru Dova v'Lo Yokum Ki Imanu Eil. Kodesh Baruch should be with us and with the army, and Eretz Yisrael should only know Benotati Shalom v'Oretz v'Chol Yoshvei. You should share B'Seres Tovis. Try to be better. And B'Korif. Kodesh Baruch should give all our enemies a mapala. And we should be zeichet to a Yeshuas Eilamim. And be as Goyal Tzedek, Imheru, V'Yomeinu, Amen.
Amen. Rav, is there a moment to ask a couple of questions?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much. So a few people reached out, and one of the questions that's repeating itself is, what would the Rav suggest as the most appropriate message to give to our secular students at this time? Students who have not yet necessarily developed a foundation of emunah or bitachon, and who may want to, or who may even say, engage in conversations about who's to blame or negativity about the government or things like that. What would be perhaps an appropriate approach for speaking to our students? And
I think the most important message for us to convey to the people we engage who are not yet from is a dual message. First of all, a message of caring and compassion. It is a huge inspiration for them to see how the Jewish people is one and united they are very well aware there are from and non-from and right and left. Not only in Israel, the Jewish community in America is a huge divide between right and left and liberals and conservatives, and and they're also aware even within the Trump community of of different opinions and divides. And I think it's very inspiring to see how Jews will always care for each other in times of stress and tragedy. I think it is unique to our people. When tragedy strikes in an African country, I don't think all the blacks in America will feel united. Or if there's a terrible earthquake in Italy, I don't think all the Italians will feel that it has anything to do with them. That is unique about our people, and I think it's a very powerful message to convey to the young people that we are engaging. And the second thing is emunah. They're not there yet, but I think it's awesome to see how people that have emunah cope. On one hand, I said this before, many in our community are so insulated, and justifiably so. They're not on social media, and they shouldn't be. But one of the results is many in our community really don't understand and don't appreciate what's happening in this country. Many of our youngsters don't know what it means to have your children in the army, in combat, and you just go out of your mind just to worry. So some of you might be surprised why I'm so sentimental. I don't have kids in the army. I'm one of you. You're one of me. My kids are all learning. But I do feel the pulse of this country. And they all come to me. And in a way, I feel as if they are my children. So many in our community don't even know what it is, and don't even know what it means to have your children that are more precious to you than anything in danger. One of the stories that came out recently, yesterday, was a general in the Israeli army who served active service many, many years ago. And his children called him from the south, where they're living, and they say there are terrorists outside the door. We're terrified. Put on his uniform from Tel Aviv, drove down in his private car. He couldn't, there were roadblocks. Because he was a general serving down south, he knew all the sideways. He passed all the roadblocks, and he's, I would guess, about 65 years old, and with his personal firearm, he put his life in terrible danger and fought house after house. And as a senior commander, some young soldiers stuck together with him. And he killed terrorists, and he reached his children's house and physically took them out of the house, put them into his car, and drove them to safety. So these are stories that many in our community just won't understand what it means. So on one hand, Baruch Hashem, they're not exposed. And they're learning Torah, Yom and Balayla, and it's wonderful, and that's the way we want it to be. But the result is they don't really, some of them don't really feel the pain which they should be feeling. And they should understand their achrayus. we don't need to feel guilty about not serving in the army because we firmly believe that Torah saves Klal Yisrael. It is the past of our people, it's the future of our people, and what keeps us going. But we do need to feel the pain of others, and we need to feel the achrayus it puts upon us to learn more, to daven more, and to do the maximum effort on our side for Klal Yisrael in times of war. So I think the message that we need to convey is, on one hand, a message of compassion, of Kol Yisrael Arei V'Zeh, that we care for each and every one of them, from or not. They're all Kodesh Baruch Hu's children, Kodesh Baruch Hu's Kindalecha, and we dearly care for each and every one of them. And the other message is of faith, of bitachon. How people that believe in a Kodesh Baruch Hu cope with stress, and they also need to feel that we are doing our share in bearing responsibility for Klal Yisrael, what's happening in Eretz.
Rose, if we could ask one more very important question. There are a number of people who are asking questions both on this session and who've reached out to us already about what they should be advising students and even for their own children. People who have children in Eretz Yisrael, whether they should bring them back home, people who have students who are considering going to Eretz Yisrael, whether they should encourage them
we don't really know what to expect. We don't know where this is going. So this afternoon, the Pikud HaOref, which is the home front, said that everybody should have water for 72 hours and dry foods, which caused somewhat of a panic in the country. But then they corrected that, and they said that it's only the people living in the north. After Israel was so terribly and tragically surprised by this horrific Hamas attack, I think now they're just so careful. And I think the leadership of this country is concerned maybe Iran might become involved directly, because the Iranians built the Hamas. They're the baby of the Iranian regime. And Gaza is being pounded now. And a great part of Gaza will be reduced to rubble. And it'll be very hard for the Iranians to see that and not come to the rescue. So I think the government is concerned, the army is concerned of direct Iranian involvement. So I think Yerushalayim is safe. All my children and grandchildren live in Yerushalayim. Kodesh Baruch Hu should watch over all of us. I don't feel, insecure in Yerushalayim. But if parents are concerned, I think they're entitled to take their children home. And I will never give an answer, yes or no. That is for every parent to decide. I'm not one of those that will take responsibility and say, keep Shabbos and you're going to be okay. I do feel that Yerushalayim is safe. My children all live here. I live here. We daven, we learn. But if parents are worried and they want to take their children home, I will support them. You could take your children home, because we don't really know what to expect in the coming week or weeks, and we don't know what to expect. I hope this will be over fast and decisive, but nobody knows. Nobody knows where this is going, and therefore it is for parents and their children to decide. And whatever they decide, from my point of view, would be a legitimate decision. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu should just look after all of them.
Okay, thank you, Rav.
It was a chus to be with you, and I hope Yehirav the name of Milsa the Miskabla, and if I said anything that was any level of chizik to all of you, Yehi Zeh Schori. We should only share the Saer B'Korov. and everybody should come safely home. B'siyata d'shmaya.
Man, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody for joining us.
Amen.
Bracha v'atzlacha to everybody, and only b'saras tovos.